Hello, you're watching Evening News on News Mongolia. Today is March 1st, Tuesday. For our top stories, the signing ceremony of a Japanese language translation laboratory at National University of Mongolia was held today. Survey to be conducted on classical arts' impact on mental health. 18th century British play about Mongolian history has been translated to Mongolian. For other news, stay tuned. The signing of a project agreement with the Department of Asian Studies of the National University of Mongolia to establish a Japanese language translation laboratory in 2022 in the Department of Asian Studies with a grant from the government of Japan was held today at the Japanese consulate in Ulaanbaatar city.
This year marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Japan and Mongolia. Translators and interpreters have been instrumental in the development of bilateral relations in many fields, including politics, economics, culture, and education. The National University of Mongolia has been teaching Japanese language since 1975 and is the longest-running Japanese language school in Mongolia. The signing ceremony of a project agreement with the Department of Asian Studies of the National University of Mongolia to establish a Japanese language translation laboratory in the Department of Asian Studies with a grant of $93,000 from the government of Japan was held on March 1st at the Japanese embassy. The ceremony was attended by the Japanese ambassador to Mongolia, Hiroyuki Kobayashi, director of the National University of Mongolia, Achurhoik, head of the Department of Asian Studies, XVIII, senior lecturer of the Department of Japanese Studies in the Department of Asian Studies, Boltbatar, and other officials.
As you know, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Japan and Mongolia. It is a great pleasure to support Japanese language students this anniversary year. The efforts of the translators should not be forgotten among those who have contributed to the development of friendly relations between Japan and Mongolia during these 50 years. Translators have been instrumental in the development of bilateral relations in many fields, including politics, economics, culture, and education. Translating, of course, requires a high level of language skills, as well as knowledge of the culture and customs of the speaker and the listener. It is also a profession that requires ingenuity, memory, concentration, and physical strength to translate. Although translation technology using artificial intelligence is evolving, I think that the efforts of translators to translate between people in the field will continue to be needed.
To date, many talented people in the field of Japanese language and Japanese studies have been trained at the National University of Mongolia. It is hoped that the project will enable the university to become one of the pillars of the Japanese-Mongolian relations and to produce a skilled workforce that will connect both countries in many areas.
It has been scientifically proven that the classic arts help improve mental health. A stage adaptation of Dostoevsky's novel Crime and Punishment is going to be performed again in Ulaanbaatar. To better understand the psychological state of Mongolia's youth, an audience survey will be conducted for the performance. One way to study mental health and alleviate emotional distress is through art, particularly classical art. The survey conducted for the performance of Crime and Punishment will be the first of its kind in Mongolia. The audience will be surveyed before and after watching the play, with researchers expecting the results to shed light on the state of the young audience's mental health.
Children and the youth experience a certain psychological change after watching a classical play. What's interesting is what kind of changes will be identified through the survey. We are going to survey 50 children from orphanages and college students. If you commit a crime, you have to receive punishment. This play covers everything from what a young person wishes and desires, as well as all the struggles that come with life. All the ways one can overcome life's struggles are depicted by each and every character in this play.
Although it was published in 1866, the themes of crime and punishment are as relevant today as they were when the book was first published. It tackles issues such as alienation, poverty, and nihilism. The project organizers say that psychologists and artists will use the survey results in their future work. More than 250 years ago, a play about Mongolian history was presented in a Western country for the first time. The script has now been translated to the Mongolian language. Let's learn more from our next report. In 1769, the play Chinggishan was written and performed in London at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. The script has been translated to Mongolian and published as a book.
I work at US Library of Congress, which adds all the important books published around the world to its collection. I found this important book accidentally while I was looking for books on Genghis Khan to see how many we could find. There were around 600 books, mainly books that were written in recent decades. However, the one published in 1769 caught my attention. It was the script for a play about Genghis Khan's history, and the play was performed at the largest theatre back then, London's Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. I translated the play as it's crucial to see how the English people saw Mongolians at that time.
The play was written by Alexander Dow and is a 5-act play based on real characters and some historical facts. Dow was a Scottish Orientalist and army officer who learned Persian while in the army. Dow read a Persian book on Mongolian history and learned about Genghis Khan's feats and admired him as the best emperor in history. With the desire to share this story with other Londoners, the play was performed. It took Sarol Erdenbjarmar 2 years to translate the book. He said that it was challenging for him to translate the English language used in the 18th century, which is different from modern-day English. And as the script was written as poetry, he had to keep the writing's poetic form and nuance. The play was the first play on Mongolia ever performed in the Western world. A book launch will be held on Tuesday at Natsagdorj Public Library. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank.
A protocol to finalize the feasibility study for a project to build a natural gas pipeline from Russia to China through the territory of Mongolia was signed on January 25th. On Monday, February 28th, Amr Sakhan, Deputy Prime Minister of Mongolia, and Alexei Miller, Chairman of the Board of Gazprom Russia, signed the agreement for launching the engineering exploration works for the natural gas pipeline project. According to the agreement, work permits to Russian subcontractors taking part in engineering and exploration work will be resolved in the first half of 2023. In addition, Gazaprovod, Soyuz Vostok LLC and Irtnis Mongol LLC will jointly conduct geodetic, engineering, ecological and archaeological exploration surveys, which should be completed by November 30th of 2023. Land to be allocated for the construction of the natural gas pipeline will be decided by the government of Mongolia around December of this year.
Here comes the weather forecast for the world's major cities. This is it for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.